Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be looking at some really interesting ideas about personal growth, global unity, and the nature of love.
Yeah, love.
We've got excerpts
Just
from
make a topic.
El Centro del Discípulo TXT,
Okay.
and I think you'll find that it's less of a dry philosophy text
Right.
and more like a guide
A guide, yeah.
to reaching a higher level of consciousness.
Mm.
It gets into the nitty-gritty of the inner work we
Yeah.
need to do if we want to create a more harmonious world.
I think it's fascinating how the text really emphasizes that creating a more unified world actually begins by taking responsibility for our own inner state.
It really reminds me of that analogy of the airplane oxygen mask.
Oh, yeah.
You have to help yourself before you can help others.
Exactly. Attending to our own inner state.
Right.
Cultivating peace, understanding, and compassion within ourselves is absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
It's not selfish.
Yeah.
It's actually the opposite.
Right.
Think about it. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you're feeling depleted or out of balance, how can you possibly contribute to a more positive and peaceful world?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So for our listeners out there, think about this.
Yeah.
How could focusing on your own inner peace maybe lead to a calmer environment in your own life?
Yeah.
You know, whether that's your family, your work, your community.
Absolutely.
Wherever you feel the need for more harmony. And it's really incredible to think about how even the small shifts within ourselves can really create those ripples outward.
And the text even takes that a step further.
Okay.
It suggests that as we cultivate inner unity, we become like beacons of light.
Wow.
Radiating positive energy and inspiring those around us just by being who we are.
So it's not about trying to force change on others or preaching about how they should be.
Right.
It's about embodying those qualities ourselves.
Right. It's like we shift our frequency.
Okay.
We emanate a more harmonious vibration that naturally uplifts and inspires the people around us.
I like that.
Yeah.
The text also talks about the consciousness of Christ.
Right.
I know that can be kind of a loaded term. So what does that actually mean in this context?
It's not about religious dogma or imposing beliefs on others.
Okay.
It's about embodying and expressing a state of unconditional love and unity.
Okay.
Think about the qualities associated with that. Compassion, forgiveness, understanding, acceptance.
Right.
Those are qualities that I think transcend any specific belief system.
Yeah.
And they have the power to transform not just ourselves, but the world around us.
I love how the text uses the analogy of a single drop of water.
Yeah.
Creating ripples that spread throughout a pond.
Yeah.
It really highlights that even small acts of kindness and compassion can have a significant impact.
Exactly. A genuine smile, a kind word,
Yeah.
offering a helping hand.
Yeah.
These seemingly small actions all contribute to a more positive energy in the world.
Right.
It's like each act of kindness adds another drop to that pond, creating that ripple effect of positive change.
I can see how that can be incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
It means that each of us, no matter who we are or what our circumstances might be, has the ability to make a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It shifts our perspective from feeling helpless or overwhelmed by the state of the world
Right.
to realizing that we each have a role to play in creating a more harmonious and unified reality.
It's a hopeful vision.
It is.
But, looking at the world today, with all of its conflicts and divisions, it can be hard to imagine such a dramatic shift towards global unity.
Yeah.
Does the text address this at all?
It does.
Okay.
Does it talk about the challenges we face in creating this kind of world? It does. It acknowledges the very real difficulties and conflicts we see playing out on the global stage.
Right.
But it emphasizes that these challenges aren't insurmountable.
Okay.
In fact, it suggests that these very challenges are part of a larger evolutionary process, a movement towards greater unity and interconnection.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Makes me think about all the social movements throughout history that started with a small group of people who envisioned a different future.
Yeah.
Could this movement toward a consciousness of unity be part of that larger arc of human evolution?
It's certainly possible.
Yeah.
The text reminds us that we're not alone in this endeavor.
Right.
Many individuals throughout history have walked a similar path.
Yeah.
And their wisdom and experiences can serve as a guide for us today.
Speaking of guidance, the text places a lot of emphasis on the role of love in achieving unity.
Yes.
But it's not talking about typical romantic love, is it?
No, not quite.
Okay.
It distinguishes between conditional love,
Okay.
which is often based on attachment possessiveness or the need for control,
Right.
and what it calls unconditional love,
Okay.
which is something else entirely.
So what does unconditional love look like, according to this text?
It's rooted in acceptance, compassion, and a deep respect for the individuality of the other. It's not about clinging to others or trying to change them.
Right.
It's about recognizing their inherent worth and allowing them to be fully themselves.
So it's about celebrating our differences while also recognizing our fundamental interconnectedness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it involves seeing that divine spark in every being, even those we perceive as different or even as enemies.
That makes me wonder.
Yeah.
Could much of the conflict we see in the world stem from a lack of this unconditional love?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And from our inability to embrace our shared humanity, despite our differences.
That's a crucial insight. And the text suggests that this kind of love is the key to dissolving the barriers we built between each other.
Okay.
Whether those are based on race, religion, nationality, or ideology, unconditional love can help us recognize our shared humanity.
Right.
It's the foundation for building a better world.
It sounds like it all comes back to the inner work we were talking about earlier.
It does. It's about cultivating that unconditional love within ourselves, first and foremost.
Then from that place of inner unity, we can begin to build bridges of understanding and compassion with others.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But the text also talks about the challenges we face internally, right?
It does.
It mentions something about the division within ourselves.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That's where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
The text highlights that we often experience fragmentation within our own personalities.
Okay.
It calls this the fragmentation of the ego, or the multiple selves or roles we play, that can prevent us from experiencing true unity and love.
So it's like we all have these different internal committees, each with its own agenda and desires. Sometimes it feels like they're all vying for control.
Exactly. Think about the you that shows up at work.
Yeah.
The you that interacts with family.
Right.
The you present on social media.
Yeah.
Are they all aligned?
Oh, absolutely not.
Or are there conflicts and contradictions?
I definitely relate to that. It's like having all these different characters inside. Yeah.
Each with its own set of fears, insecurities, and motivations.
Right.
How can we possibly find unity within ourselves if we feel so divided internally?
That's a question.
Yeah.
We'll explore further in part 2.
Okay.
But the text does offer some guidance.
Okay.
It uses a term called antikarana to describe a bridge that can connect our fragmented ego root to our soul.
So it's like building a bridge within ourselves.
Yes. But before that bridge can be built, the text emphasizes that the fragmented personality needs to become a more unified platform.
So a divided personality can't be a platform for the soul.
That's right.
That's a powerful image.
It is.
It really highlights the importance of that inner work.
Yes.
Of getting to know those different selves and finding a way to integrate them. But how do we even begin to do that?
That's where the concept of the observer comes in.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this observer.
We'll delve into that right after a short break.
Okay, so stay tuned. The observer is the part of us that can witness those internal dramas without getting caught up in them.
Oh, okay.
Think of it like taking a step back from the stage of your own mind
Yeah.
and watching the play unfold.
Oh, so instead of identifying with those different selves and their sometimes conflicting desires,
Yeah,
we can learn to observe them with a sense of detachment.
exactly.
Oh, okay.
And by cultivating this inner observer, we gain a new perspective on our internal landscape.
Mm-hmm.
We can start to see the patterns that keep us stuck
Right.
and begin to break free from old habits and beliefs that no longer serve us.
That makes me think of mindfulness practices.
Yes.
It's about becoming more aware of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors
Yeah.
without judgment.
That's a great connection. And the text suggests that cultivating this awareness is crucial for navigating what it calls the path of discipleship.
The path of discipleship. Could you unpack that a bit?
Yeah.
What does that mean in this context?
The text describes the path of discipleship as a journey marked by profound tests and challenges that lead us toward greater spiritual maturity.
Okay, so it's not a passive journey of enlightenment.
Right.
It's an active engagement with the process of inner transformation.
Exactly.
But what exactly are these tests?
Well,
what might they look like in our own lives?
the text doesn't give us a specific list, but it offers clues.
Okay.
Remember, it's all about moving from inner division to unity from conditional love to unconditional love.
Right.
So the tests are likely to challenge us in those very areas where we're most attached,
Okay.
where our egos cling the tightest.
So anything that triggers our fears, insecurities, or makes us feel defensive could be a test.
Exactly.
Okay.
It might be a relationship that pushes our buttons, a career setback, or even a global event that forces us to confront our beliefs about the world.
It really is about how we respond to those challenges.
It is.
Do we react from a place of fear and separation, or do we choose love and understanding?
The text suggests that a disciple ready for growth will face these tests with humility.
Okay.
And a willingness to learn. They'll see these challenges as opportunities to purify their motives, let go of limiting beliefs, and deepen their connection to their soul.
And that's where the observer comes in, right?
Exactly.
If we can step back from our immediate reaction and simply observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment, we're less likely to get swept up in the drama.
Precisely. The observer allows us to create space between a stimulus and our response.
Okay.
Instead of reacting automatically, we can pause, reflect, and choose a more conscious path.
It's like hitting the pause button on autopilot.
Exactly.
We get to consciously decide how we want to respond to a situation.
Yes.
But honestly, that feels much easier said than done.
I agree.
Especially when we're in the heat of the moment.
You're absolutely right. It takes practice.
Yeah.
And the text acknowledges that this is a gradual process.
Okay.
We all fall back into old patterns sometimes.
Right.
There will be moments when we get triggered.
Yeah.
And react in ways we later regret.
So it's not about being perfect.
No.
It's about striving for progress.
Right.
It's about being willing to learn and grow from our mistakes.
Exactly. And the text encourages us to be patient with ourselves.
Okay.
The path of discipleship is a lifelong journey, not a destination.
That's reassuring to hear.
Yeah.
Earlier, you mentioned the inertia of the disciple, and I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
What exactly is that, and how does it relate to these tests we're discussing?
That's a key point.
Yeah.
Inertia of the disciple describes the tendency to get stuck in a cycle of unconsciousness.
Right.
Even when we know we need to change. It's like hitting a plateau on our spiritual journey.
Yeah.
And we become complacent or even resistant to further growth.
So we might understand these concepts intellectually, but we're not necessarily living them out in our daily lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We might talk the talk.
Yeah.
But are we walking the walk? And this inertia can prevent us from facing those very tests that are necessary for our evolution.
So how do we overcome this inertia? How do we move from an intellectual understanding to actually embodying this wisdom in our lives?
The text suggests that the key is cultivating a deep and abiding connection to our soul.
Okay.
It's about shifting our allegiance from the ego,
our
limited sense of self, to our soul, which is connected to something much greater.
Okay. I'm with you so far.
Yeah.
But how do we know what our soul wants?
Well, the text describes the soul as a source of wisdom, intuition, and unconditional love.
Okay.
It's the part of us that's connected to something bigger than ourselves, to a universal consciousness or divine intelligence.
So it sounds like accessing a higher source of guidance.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And the text suggests we can access this guidance through practices like meditation, contemplation, and prayer.
Okay.
It's about quieting the mind, turning inward, and listening to that inner voice of wisdom.
Creating space for that inner wisdom to emerge.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I imagine it takes a lot of trust.
It does.
To surrender to that guidance.
Yeah.
Especially if it goes against what our ego thinks it wants.
You're absolutely right. It requires a willingness to let go of control, to surrender to something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
And that can be a very challenging process.
Right.
Especially for those of us who are used to relying on logic and reason.
It's about finding that balance between head and heart, between intellect and intuition.
Precisely. It's about integrating all aspects of ourselves.
Yeah.
We are both spiritual beings having a human experience.
Right.
And human beings capable of accessing spiritual wisdom.
I appreciate how this text doesn't shy away from these big questions.
Me too.
It really encourages us to explore the depths of our being and uncover the hidden treasures within.
I agree. It doesn't offer easy answers or quick fixes.
Yeah.
Instead, it invites us on a journey of self-discovery.
It feels like a quest for something more than the material world.
Exactly. And the text suggests that the rewards of this quest are immeasurable.
Wow.
It describes a state of being characterized by deep peace, joy, and an unshakable connection to something greater than ourselves.
It sounds incredible, but I imagine it's not always an easy path.
Yeah.
Does the text say anything about the challenges involved?
It doesn't sugarcoat the difficulties. It describes the path of discipleship as one that requires disciplined dedication.
Right.
And a willingness to face our shadows.
So it's not for the faint of heart.
It does require a certain level of courage.
Yeah.
Willingness to step outside of our comfort zones and embrace the unknown.
And I imagine it also involves letting go of things that no longer serve us.
Absolutely.
Whether that's material possessions, unhealthy relationships, or even outdated beliefs that hold us back.
The text talks about the need for detachment.
Okay.
Releasing our grip on the things that we think define us.
You can't take it with you?
Exactly.
In the end, all we really have is our consciousness, our connection to something greater than ourselves.
Beautifully put. And by cultivating this interconnection, we not only transform ourselves, we contribute to the transformation of the world around us.
It's a win-win. We benefit individually, and the collective benefits as well.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that we are all interconnected, part of a larger web of life.
And that by raising our own consciousness, we contribute to raising the vibration of the whole planet.
Exactly. It's a ripple effect, a chain reaction of positive transformation.
That's so inspiring.
Yeah.
I'm starting to understand my own role in creating a more loving and compassionate world.
Good.
But I'm also wondering about the practical side of things.
Yeah.
What specific steps can we take to embark on this path of discipleship?
That's the question.
Where do we even begin?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll explore right after a short break. So where do we even begin with this path of discipleship? Is there like a step-by-step guide that we can follow?
Yeah, is there like a checklist or something?
Well, the text reminds us that there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Okay.
You know, it's a deeply personal journey, and what resonates for one person might not for another.
Right.
But it does offer some universal principles that can kind of point us in the right direction.
Okay, so what are some of those guiding principles?
Well, first and foremost, it emphasizes self-awareness.
Okay.
Remember that idea of the observer. Cultivating the ability to witness our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without judgment is really essential.
So it's about detaching from that whirlwind of our minds.
Yes.
And simply observing without getting swept away.
Exactly. And practices like meditation, mindfulness, or even journaling can be really helpful for developing that capacity for self-observation.
That makes sense. It's like creating space to become aware of the patterns running our lives.
Yeah.
The ones that we often don't even realize are there.
Precisely. And once we become aware of those patterns, we can make conscious choices about how we want to respond. It's no longer about being controlled by unconscious reactions.
It's like we're finally taking the wheel instead of letting autopilot drive us down the same old road.
I like that analogy. The text also emphasizes cultivating qualities like humility, compassion, and forgiveness.
Those feel like pretty big ones, especially in a culture that often rewards competition and holding grudges.
You're right, they do go against the grain.
Yeah.
The path of discipleship challenges us to shift our focus from self-interest to the well-being of others, from judgment to understanding.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of inner work. Is there anything in the text about how to actually cultivate these qualities?
It suggests that simply being aware of the need for them is a powerful first step.
Okay.
From there, we can start to make small, conscious choices in our daily lives.
Okay.
It might be practicing active listening instead of interrupting, extending kindness to someone who has wronged us.
Right.
Or admitting when we've made a mistake.
So it's about those little moments where we have the opportunity to choose a different path. A path that aligns with these qualities that we want to embody.
Exactly. And over time, these small choices can lead to profound shifts in how we see ourselves and the world.
It all ties back to that ripple effect again, doesn't it?
It does.
The more we embody these qualities, the more we contribute to a world that reflects them.
That's the heart of it. The text also emphasizes the importance of service.
Okay.
Of using our unique gifts and talents to make a positive impact.
So it's not just about our own personal growth, but about sharing that growth with the world.
It's about understanding that we're all interconnected and using our strengths to benefit others.
It's interesting how it all seems to come full circle.
It is.
We begin with inner work.
Yeah.
And from that place, we're able to contribute to something much larger than ourselves.
It's a beautiful journey. This whole deep dive has really opened my eyes to the potential within each of us to create a more loving and unified world. But I also have to admit, it feels a little daunting.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Where do we even start putting all of this into practice?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Well, the text suggests starting with a simple intention.
Okay.
A clear and heartfelt desire to embark on this path.
So it starts with a conscious choice to step onto this path of growth and transformation.
Exactly. And it also suggests finding a teacher or mentor,
Oh.
someone who is further along on this path and can offer guidance. Think of them as a wise gardener who can help nurture that seed you've planted.
Yeah, having a guide can be so helpful, especially when we're facing challenges or setbacks along the way.
Absolutely. And surrounding ourselves with a supportive community is also crucial.
Right.
Connecting with others who are on a similar journey provides encouragement and inspiration along the way.
It sounds like we're not meant to do this alone.
We're not. We need each other. We need the support, encouragement, and inspiration that comes from connecting with others who are also striving to embody these principles.
Well, this has been such a rich and thought-provoking deep dive.
It has.
I feel inspired to take these teachings and really apply them to my own life. What's one final takeaway, one nugget of wisdom that you'd like to leave with our listeners?
This text reminds us that the path of discipleship is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
It's a lifelong process of learning, growing, and evolving. It will have its challenges,
Sure.
but the ultimate reward is realizing our true nature, that spark of the divine that lives within each of us.
That's beautifully put. And as we walk this path, it's good to remember that we're not alone. We have each other.
We do.
The wisdom of those who came before us.
Yes.
And a source of guidance within if we open our hearts to it.
Well said. So as you go about your day, consider this. How can you bring these principles to life in your own unique way?
Yeah.
How can you be a beacon of light radiating the qualities you want to see more of in the world?
Right.
These are questions worth pondering as you continue your own journey toward greater consciousness and unity.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep shining your light.